Hey my subscribers, how's it going? I'm Viros and welcome to another video, music. Guys, welcome to the start of another vlog here on my channel. How are you all doing? Everything good, everything chill, and everything cool with all of you? Hey, on the other side, look guys, I hope so, because today we need to have a serious talk. That's right, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you all the truth about what happened to my animals, because I haven't talked about this subject in a long time. And where are my ferrets, my fish, and the exotic animals I used to have? Well, today I want to tell the whole truth. And did it take me a long time to make this video? Because for me it was a very delicate subject to deal with, and it really affected me a lot lately. So time went by and I wanted to be mentally prepared to make this video here, especially for you. And I think there's nothing better than starting this year off on the right foot in a different way. Just to clarify things, before anything else, I need to tell you where I'm living, right? I moved houses some time ago and I didn't really show much to those of you who follow me and keep up with me more closely. That loyal subscriber from the channel has surely noticed that I now live in a different house. This one you're seeing in the background, guys, is a really cool house, and actually it's in one of the neighborhoods, in the first neighborhood I ever lived in. As soon as I got here in the United States, remember when I used to live with my YouTuber friends at Nigo House? It's in this same neighborhood that I'm living now, but in a different house. I can still show it to you guys in more detail because it's pretty big, but we'll leave that for another video, because today's video already has a very personal topic for us to talk about. A lot of people have been asking me lately what happened to my pets. Every video someone asks about them, and I know, okay? I know I should have made this video a long time ago, but let's forget about that because the time has finally come. Guys, I don't want to make too much suspense, but getting straight to the point. Unfortunately, I ended up losing some of my great friends, and this is a very delicate subject. That's why I wanted to, really to be able to talk to you, explain everything, because this is a subject that really affected me a lot. I've always been a very outgoing guy, always recording my life, every day, showing the reality, the things that happen, both the good and also the bad. And when this situation happened with my animals, it felt like, I don't know, a turning point in my life. Of course, a lot of things have happened in my personal life since then. I'm growing up, I'm not that same little boy I used to be, and dealing with adulthood in another country, so it's a lot of responsibility. And I can say that my animals were a really strong, really big foundation for me, a source of affection and inspiration. You know, that support, really, that foundation. What I usually call my best friends, because many times they were the ones who were with me during the hardest moments. Only they really know the things we've been through here in the United States lately, man. And just like I said, right? There are a lot of good things, but there were also many adversities, many obstacles, right? Throughout this 8-year journey in America. And that throughout these 8 years, for a long time, it was just me inside a studio, a room, living room, kitchen, and bathroom, and my animals. So yes, I consider them my best friends. Who remembers the day I adopted Hash, my pet ferret, who was the first little animal I had here in the United States? Another time I decided to set up an aquarium with exotic fish and bought an alligator gar, which was really tiny. And we kept feeding him and he kept growing and growing until he became a real monster fish. That's right. And from then on, I got really attached to these little creatures and never stopped. Then came turtles, Amora, my other ferret, to make a cute little couple with Hash. Then I had a chameleon, ants, and look, a bunch of exotic animals. Anyone who's followed the channel here over the past few years knows exactly what I'm talking about. I created so many amazing moments with these little guys, which generated lots of videos, entertainment, and happiness, not just for me, but for millions of people who watch me, and also developed a special affection for each one of them. But when everything happened, I didn't have the structure to turn on the camera and start talking, and I think looking back now, I totally understand the pain I felt during these past times. To have this inside me and wanting to tell, wanting to talk, but I also understand that I'm a human being, not a robot that just records videos. And that I needed some time to manage all my thoughts, all the feelings that moment caused me, along with my personal life and everything that happened afterwards. Honestly, it really felt like from that point on, my life was a whirlwind of things, and it was hard to process all of it. So much so that I ended up distancing myself more and more from the channel, stopping bringing videos to you every day. Do I have that big smile wanting to bring joy to everyone here? You know, I've never been someone who just wants to turn on the camera just to talk about bad news or even bring negative energy. We already know that our world has a lot of things going on, right? So I've always wanted that when you sit down to watch a video on my channel, it's for you to have fun, to feel happy, and to leave here with a smile on your face. But anyway, like I said, I'm not here to tell sad stories, but to clarify some things that you've been asking me about for a long time, and I'm taking this opportunity. So this whole New Year's vibe, this sense of a fresh start is helping me express myself again. So I turned on the camera, I'm just talking, and I think throughout this year you'll see more videos like this. I, more than anyone, know how to handle this camera really well. But of course, after being away for a while, you lose a bit of discipline, that feeling, you know, of being there every day. So I ask all of you in advance for your understanding because I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I'll get some things right too, but all of this is necessary to get me back on track. I'm not exactly sure if you all are ready for everything I have to say in this video. I've already kind of introduced the topic to you, but it's a very delicate matter. I don't know if you guys are even ready to watch the next videos I have to release here. Things that I documented during moments of pain, and it was hard for me to do all that to record. That's even why I became so withdrawn. So I decided to make this pre-video here to kind of make sure you guys are ready for us to talk about this subject. Well, you know, I've always been a guy who changes. I've never been the kind of person who stays in the same place for years and years or does the same thing for years and years. I've always been a guy who changes, you know, who adapts, almost like a chameleon. I think actually the only thing in my life that I've done for many years is this, recording videos for you guys. Even so, there came a moment, right? Like I said, I needed to step away for a bit. I needed to take some time to understand what was happening around me in my personal life and to organize a few things. So since I got here in the United States, I've never had a problem with adapting, you know? I've always been very easygoing. Just so you have an idea, this is already the 9th, almost the 10th house I've lived in here in the United States. Of course, it's been 8 years, right? But yeah, there were several periods of moving, times when I lived with people, times when I lived alone. And I think that with every move, some things get left behind, whether they're physical things or relationships with people, or even, in this case, the topic I'm bringing up here for you, my pets. And in the last house I lived in, the changes were really drastic. Starting with the fact that I left a house where I lived right in front of a lake, and I had to leave in a big hurry because the owner had sold the house and needed it back. And I had a very short time to find a new place, adapt, and move with all my stuff. What happened during this rush and this new phase of adaptation is that some things got left behind. Raj, for example, who is my ferret, was the pet that accompanied me the most through all these moves. Just like me, he always found a way to adapt. I always tried to bring a new cage, a different little spot so he could be happier and adapt better, you know? With the new phases, until I got to my last move, the last house I lived in, a lot of things happened in my life, a lot of changes really. You know, things that I knew could happen at some point, but I didn't expect them to happen so soon. No, at least not at that moment, and even less the way it happened, especially because everything happened all at once in a sequence like that, you know, at the end of the lake house. I was already struggling a lot, trying to save one of my fish. It was really sick, and every day was a battle with the vet giving it medicine, trying to save it because it was already a big monster fish that I had saved. He was very dear to me, but sadly he didn't make it. I even shared the video here. Many people related to the topic because at some point in their lives, they also ended up losing a pet. And I think that actually it's even harder than just losing a pet like that. From one day to the next, they're gone. It's even harder when you're there, fighting for their life, trying everything with the vet, doctors, and so on. And unfortunately, guys, he passed away. I think the pain is much greater, much bigger, you know? And those who were aware of what was happening at that time in that house where I was living and all, they knew. Since Hash wasn't doing very well, he was having serious health problems. Just so you have an idea, that little guy was really strong because even being that small, he managed to be so strong, to hold on for so long, but he had 4 tumors inside him. And we were fighting weekly, constantly for the life of my great friend, which lasted until the time we moved from the last house. Guys, yeah, I don't think I was even able to feel happy, you know? To celebrate this new phase I was entering, because every time you move to a new house, it also brings something new, right? A new phase, a new environment, new ideas. And I had just come from a situation that was happening with the fish I had lost when I moved. And during the move, right after, it happened with Hash. And right after that, it happened with my fish. And then it happened with the chameleon. And it just kept snowballing, going downhill, and I couldn't see any perspective. I looked from side to side and asked myself, what's happening in my life? I just moved into a phase where I had a lot of expectations. I spent a lot of money to be able to bring new videos, to live well too, and to have a new phase here on the channel. Everything was going downhill just like that, overnight. Well, I won't say overnight because like I said, we had been struggling, right? But that's how it was when the situation happened. And I think it also has a bit to do with what we're putting out there, what we're focusing on at the moment, right? I think that in that situation, I found myself feeling a bit intimidated, you know? Like, feeling kind of helpless without any support. And maybe even the power of my thoughts helped, contributed to other worse things happening along the way. Man, like, we can't really tell you everything here, talk to you about our personal lives, right? Just like you, watching me from the other side of the screen with your own problems, difficulties, and achievements, I'm also a human who experiences all of that, right? And you need to take into consideration that I'm in another country. Guys, I'm really far from my comfort zone, far from my family, from my close friends, like from childhood. And I got here really young. At just 21 years old, I was already living here in America, in another country, and trying this life of recording videos for the internet and living my dream. And I think I handled all the adversities and challenges that came along the way really well. Until I reached this moment where it broke me down. Seriously, It messed with my head, it messed with my feelings, it messed with me. And the proof of that is the fact that I stepped away from the channel here for a while. And each time more bringing fewer videos to you. Because it was such a big pain that I was carrying with me. And at the same time, I don't know. I think that in a moment with so much going on and emotions running high, I ended up blaming myself for the whole situation too. Do you know what I mean? You're there fighting, and when it happens, no matter how much you fought and done everything, spent money, moved around, got people involved, studied to, somehow try to turn that situation around, we carry this kind of feeling of guilt, deep down, like I could have done more, or why is this happening to me? There are so many questions, And I think this excess of why, this excess of doubt, it causes something here in our minds inside us. If we're not really strong, prepared, it causes a certain paranoia. It kind of messes everything up in here, guys. I think this is something I should be transparent with you about. There's no point in me sitting here and pretending to be the tough guy, the guy who took it all on and knew how to handle everything. No, it really was something that affected me. And maybe you're watching this and thinking, wow, really, you felt bad because of animals, because of little creatures and all that. But it wasn't just animals, They weren't just pets or animals like a lot of people have just to have them, leaving them in a cage, barely interacting, barely playing. I've always been a really attached guy, man, and like I said, they were with me, especially Rashi. In moments like that, unique moments in my life, really tough times. That little guy there saw me many times talking to God on my knees on the floor, asking the Lord for guidance, wondering what the next phase, the next chapter would be like. What I had to do on certain days, he was the guy who was there through all of it. And maybe now that I stop to think about it, even today, I think that deep down, with all the struggle we were having with Rashi, seeing him fight for his own life, deep down, he wanted to show me how strong I should be, how strong I have to be, resilient, to believe, and not let adversities and problems affect us. Today, of course, I have a level of maturity to be able to understand that, to discern, to look back on my past thoughts, to reevaluate some decisions, some thoughts, choices. But in the moment when everything is happening in the whirlwind of things, it's very hard to have that mental clarity, Even to be able to give new meaning to the departure of someone you care about a lot. I'm sure that you, watching this video, at some point in your life have lost a relative, lost a pet, or simply lost things, and how painful that moment of grief is, It's something where you can't measure another person's pain, you can only be understanding toward them. They're going through it, but only the person actually experiencing that specific moment truly knows deep down what that pain is like, and I felt all of that myself. Seriously, guys. It was days and days, nights and nights. When I lost my ground, it felt like I was living the same day over and over, Wow. It really messed with my mind, and it became really hard to process everything else and all the challenges happening around me, I think that naturally I'm already a pretty sentimental guy, but like I said, I've always handled losses in my life pretty well. I'm so detached that being here in the United States, living this life, chasing my dream, I ended up losing my grandfather and my grandmother along the way. And I couldn't be there to say goodbye to either of them before they passed away. Because I was here, chasing my dream, living what I was called to do, which is to bring communication, entertainment, and smiles to people. So, a lot of people think everything is perfect, right? But when you're willing to chase your dream, you end up losing some things along the way, you know? And unfortunately, my pets were one of those things I lost. But wait, it wasn't all of the animals, but it was the vast majority. There are still a few left, and I actually need to make a special video showing my studio as it is now, my animals today, the ones that stayed. But as I said from the beginning of this video, the intention was already to introduce this topic, because I need to know if you guys have the mindset, the stomach, and if you're ready to watch the video I recorded, right? At that moment, it was so hard for me to say goodbye to my pets and face all this grief, which really hurt a lot, guys. It hurt a lot, seriously, but today I can say it made me a stronger man. But every time I come back, I remember this subject. And actually, when I'm editing this video I have for you, I'm going to feel a bit of sadness in my heart and remember, right? Remember what it was like to go through that whole phase. Hey guys, are you ready? I watched part of the video here, and just by looking at it, it's not the whole thing or edited. Just seeing a few things already brings back the feeling of dealing with all that at the time. It's a heavier video, a more delicate one to watch, and for sure there's a lot of emotion involved. And you'll see that even my family was here at the time. My mom and my sister were two people who helped me a lot with the treatment and everything else for the pets. But it's a pain that no matter how much they helped me and went through it, it's a pain that only I really carry and carried inside me. Of course, everyone had a lot of consideration, not just them, but you guys too. But deep down, deep down, deep down, only I really felt that pain, you know, guys? And I think that's the tough part, right? That nobody tells you or warns you about having a pet. It's that nothing in this life is eternal, right? We're not eternal, we're just passing through. We only have a few weeks of life. If you really do the math and calculate, at some point everyone is going to leave. But we're never really prepared for that moment, right? But today I need to know if you all are really ready to watch what's coming next.